students, welcome to lesson 6 of unit 4, and this is on solving and graphing inequalities. This is your last
video for unit 4,
and we'll be taking the post-test Friday, so now is a good time to go ahead and go back to lesson 1 of unit 4 and go ahead and start re-watching those videos. That way it can help you study for the test. Alright.
In this lesson, we're going to start off with a review of just solving equations before we get into solving inequalities. Alright? By now, these should be very easy to you, but let's go ahead and go over them. First, we have d plus 9 equals 17. If you remember, I always draw my line. You don't have to do that, but it helps me understand the different sides of the equation. And we want to do the inverse operation to both sides. So we'll just subtract 9 to both sides. That'll cancel my 9's out, and I'll get d equals 8. Alright, and if I check my answer, 8 plus 9 equals 17, it checks out, so I know it's correct. Alright, second one, t minus 4 equals 23. Again, I'll draw my line, and I will do the inverse operation to both sides of the equation. So I'll add 4. That cancels out my 4's, and I'll get t equals 27. Alright, if I plug this in, I'll have 27 minus 4, and that does equal 23, so it checks out. Always remember to check your work. Alright, number 3. 4r equals 25. Here, you should definitely recognize that is multiplication, and the opposite of multiplication is division. So I will divide by 4. Oops, forgot to draw my line. Divide by 4 to each side of the equation. That cancels my 4's out, and I'm left with r equals 25 divided by 4. Now, I can't just do that in my head, so I'm going to work it out here to the side. 25 divided by 4. 4 goes into 25 6 times. 6 times 4 is 24. When I subtract those, I'll get a remainder of 1. Well, I want to add a decimal 0 and keep dividing. So I'll bring down that 0. I'll put my decimal in my quotient. Now 4 goes into 10 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. I subtract, I'll get 2. I still get a remainder, so I'm going to add another 0. Bring it down and keep dividing. 4 goes into 20 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. And now I get a remainder of 0. So I get 6 and 25 hundredths. That's my solution. Alright? Always be aware of decimals. You can always have decimals. Alright, number 4, p divided by 9 equals 36. You always can recognize that as a division symbol. Alright, so I'm going to multiply by 9 to both sides of my equation. P equals, again over here I'll do 36 times 9. That's 54. 9 times 3 is 27. 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. So 324. So p equals 324. Alright, I'll circle my solutions. Alright, now that should just be a review. Now we're going to get into how we solve inequalities. Part 1, we're going to be looking at equations versus inequalities and looking at how are they the same and how are they different. First, the instructions tell us which of the following numbers, if any, make the equation or inequality true, and then it gives us a list of numbers: 0, 3, 5, 8, 10, and 14. So what we want to do is substitute each of those values in for our variables to see if we get a true statement. So I will start with 0. Alright. 0 plus 4, does that equal 12? No. Let's try 3. 3 plus 4 equals 7, so that doesn't equal 12, so that won't work. Let's try 5. 5 plus 4 equals 9, that won't work. Let's try 8. 8 plus 4, well that equals 12, so 8 works. So I can say m equals 8. And just to be sure, let's try our last two numbers. Let's try 10. 10 plus 4, well that doesn't equal 12, it equals 14. And then 14 plus 4 equals 18, so again, that wouldn't work as well. Alright, so for the equation m plus 4 equals 12, we only have one solution. Only one number would work, and that was 8. So m must equal 8. Now let's try the same thing with the inequality and see what we get. Alright? First I'll try 0. 0 plus 4, well that equals 4, and 4 is less than 12, so I'll say 0 works. Let's try 3. 3 plus 4 equals 7, and yes, 7 is less than 12, so 3 works. 5. 5 plus 4 equals 9, and 9 is less than 12, so 5 works. Let's try 8.
8 plus 4, well that equals 12. So I gotta ask myself, is 12 less than 12?
No, that wouldn't be true. It's not less than 12, it's equal to 12, so 8 wouldn't work. And if I try 10, 10 plus 4 equals 14. Is 14 less than 12? No, so 10 won't work. And if I try 14, I think the same thing's going to happen here. 14 plus 4 equals 18, and 18 is not less than 12. So the only numbers out of this list that will work would be 0, 3, and 5. Alright? And on the next board, I'm going to show you how you can get the solutions to the inequalities in a quicker way. But let's go ahead and fill in our important note. One thing that we can see is that for an equation, I only have one solution that would have worked. That was 8. And for the same expression, m plus 4, if it's an inequality, I had several solutions that will work. So I would say equations have only one solution. Right? Inequalities, on the other hand, inequalities can have several solutions. And if I look up here in my problem, I can think of other solutions that will work as well. The number 1, if I plug in 1, I'll get 1 plus 4, which equals 5, and 5 is less than 12. So there are several other solutions besides these 3 that will also make that inequality true. Alright, got it, practice. Just filling in that blank. The first thing I want you to know is that the steps to solving an inequality are the same as the steps to solving an equation. So just like with an equation where you had to do the inverse operation or the opposite operation to both sides of the equation, the same thing applies when we're dealing with inequalities. Alright, so I'm going to guide you through these 4 problems. Follow along on your notes. Alright, so we have d plus 9 is less than or equal to 21. Again, I'll still draw my line. I'll do the inverse operation. And I'll get d. And instead of putting an equal sign, I'll put the less than or greater than or equal to sign. So I just drop my symbol down. And then 21 minus 9 is 12. So I can say that d is less than or equal to 12. Now let's check to make sure this makes sense. If I plug 12, let's choose a value less than 12. I'll choose 10. 10 plus 9 is 19, and 19 is less than 21. Alright? What if I chose a value that was equal to 12? So I'll say d equals 12. Well, 12 plus 19 is equal to 21, which is less than or equal to. So that'll work as well. So I can say that there are several different solutions, but any number that is less than or equal to 12 will make this a true statement, and that's what I'm looking for. So let's do the same thing on number 2. J minus 14 is greater than 10. I will draw my line, inverse operation. These cancel out, and I get J is greater than 24. Alright? Same thing, inverse operation. Instead of multiplying by 4, I'm going to divide by 4. And I'm going to get G is greater than or equal to 3. Alright? On number 4, Q divided by 5 is less than 3. I will do the inverse operation, which is to multiply by 5 to both sides of my inequality. The inverse operations cancel out that number, and I'm left with Q is less than 3 times 5 is 15. Alright, so just like when you're solving one-step equations, you just do the inverse operation, and you always want to isolate your variable, or get your variable by itself. Alright, let's look at part 2, and in this part, so we just learned how to solve inequalities. Now we're going to learn how to graph the solutions, and this is probably the coolest part to me. This is the part I really like. I love graphing inequalities. So let's look at this. First, let's solve it. X plus 9 is less than 12. I will do the inverse operation, which is to subtract the 9. And I will get X is less than 3. Alright, and to graph this, I want to just draw my number line. I want to draw a regular number line. And I always put this number in the middle. The number that's on the right side of the inequality, I'll put that in the middle. So I'm going to put a 3 here. Alright, and then I think what comes after 3? Well, we can have 4, 5, and that keeps on going. Then I go on the left side of 3. I will count down, so 2, 1. Alright, now here's the part that you really, really want to listen to, alright? I really want you to listen to this. I have to ask myself, can x equal 3? So is 3 going to be one of the solutions? Well, no. X can't equal 3. It must be less than 3. So since it can't equal 3, I put an open dot. So just like when you're taking a mini quiz with grade cam, when you're filling in the bubbles, we will not fill in 3 because it is not one of the solutions. Alright? Now we have to shade in the part that can be a solution. So which of these values can be a solution? Well, x is less than 3. So I don't want the values that are greater than 3. I want to shade in less than 3. Alright. Now if you didn't get that, pause the video, rewind, listen to that again, because you really want that to sink in and resonate in your mind, alright? You really want to get that part. Let's look at number 2. I have 3w is greater than 24. Choose a different color. Alright, I still draw my line. I do the inverse, so this is multiplication. So I want to divide by 3. And I will get w is greater than or equal to 8. Alright? Now to graph it, I follow the same steps. I just draw a number line. I always put this number in the middle. So my final number in my solution, I put in the middle. So just like here I put 3 in the middle, here I'm going to put 8 in the middle. Alright? And going to the right, I'll have 9, 10. Going to the left, I would have 7, 6. And we know the number line goes on and on and on in both directions. Alright? I still put my circle on my 8. And now I have to ask myself, can W equal 8? Can W be one of the solutions? Well, here in my solution it says W is greater than or equal to 8. So yes, 8 can be a solution. So I want to fill that in. Because I'm saying 8 is part of the shaded area. Alright? Now, is W greater than 8 or less than 8? Do I want to shade greater than 8 or less than 8? Well, I want to shade greater than 8. Right? And that's all there is to it. You just solve the inequality, and then the only thing you really want to think of is, do you have a closed dot, open dot, or a closed dot? If it's an open dot, that means you cannot be equal to the number you are on. So here, x cannot be equal to 3. It can be anything less than 3. Alright, same thing here. W, it can be equal to 8, so I shade in 8. And it can be anything greater than 8, so I shade in on the greater than side. It's really important you get that in your head. Alright, let's look at number 3. Cam Newton has to pass at least 2 touchdowns to win the game. Alright, so if he has to pass at least 2. That means he can't pass 1, because he has to have at least 2. He can't pass exactly 2. Well, no, he can't pass exactly 2, because that's at least 2. He can pass 3, that would be at least 2. So it seems that T, we'll just put T for touchdowns, have to be greater than or equal to 2. Alright, because if Cam Newton passes 2 touchdowns, he'll win the game. If he passes 3, he'll win the game. But if he passes 1, well, that's not greater than or equal to 2, so he won't win the game. So let's graph this on our number line. We draw a line. Remember, we put our final number in the middle, which is 2. And I think I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And on this side of 2, I have 1, 0, then -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, all the way until infinity. Alright? I always put my circle here. And now I think, can T be equal to 2? Well, yes, it has that or equal to symbol. So I'm going to shade in the 2. And Cam has to score either 2 touchdowns or more than 2 touchdowns to win. So I don't want to shade in this part of my number line. I want to shade in the greater than 2 values. So that can go 6 touchdowns, 7, 100 touchdowns. Anything greater than 2 will be one part of the solution, which is why I shaded in. But I also shade in the 2 because if Cam scores 2 touchdowns, he will win. He has to score at least 2 touchdowns. Well, that includes the number 2. Alright, let's look at 2 more examples. Oh yeah, I just want to point this out. In that blank box on the top of the second page, I want you to tell me your Super Bowl predictions. Who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl in 2 weeks? I know who I got my money on, but I want to see who you guys think is going to win. If you do not have that part filled in, you will not get a stamp for your homework. That is how I make sure that you are listening to the video. So make sure you fill that part in with who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl next week or in 2 weeks. Alright, looking at number 4.
Quanzaria has to make higher than an 85 in order to make an A for the year. So we're talking about Quanzaria. Hey, Quanzaria. If she wants to make an A for the year, she has to make it higher than an 85. So we're going to say Quanzaria. We'll just put a Q for Quanzaria. Her rate must be greater or higher than 85, because it says higher than 85. Alright? Now it didn't say at least an 85, so she can't be equal to an 85. If she gets an 85, either on the post test or whatever it is, then she will not make an A for the year. But if she gets an 86, an 87, even if she gets an 85.1, that's still greater than 85, she will make an A. Alright, and we can graph that by drawing our number line. I'll put 85 in the middle. I'll put my circle on 85. And I think I have 86, 87. On this side, I'll count backwards. 84, 83. And then I think, can Quanzaria make an 85? Is that part of the solution? No, we said it must be higher than an 85. So we'll leave that open, but we will shade in anything greater than 85, like 86, 87, 88, a 90, a 100. Any of those are greater than 85. I don't want any of that stuff. Quanzaria doesn't want any of those shaded in. Alright, let's look at Katie. Katie made $20 last week. And this week, she knows she will make less than 25. So there's our keyword, less than. And we have 25. So we can put a K for Katie. And she will make less than 25. So I'm going to put less than 25. Alright, I won't put or equal to because it says she will make less than 25. If she made $25, well that's not less than 25, that's equal to 25. Alright, and I will graph this solution. I'll put 25 in the middle, 26, 27, on this side, 24, 23. Alright, I'll put my circle on that middle number. Like always, you always put a circle regardless. And then you think, can Katie be equal to 25? Well, no, so we'll leave it open. We do not want it shaded in. She will be less than 25. She will make less than $25. So I'm going to shade in everything that is less than 25. Alright? You can always rewind that. Make sure that you do all of the graphs in this video, otherwise you will not get a stamp for your homework. You have to do the graphs, you have to show all of your work, and you must answer that prediction question at the top of the second page in order to get a stamp. If any of that stuff is missing, you won't get a stamp. Alright, y'all. Peace. Over and out.